You are a monster. 5-year-old boy sentenced to life in prison after killing a dog. Before we dive into the story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. Order in the court. Judge Harrison's voice thundered through courtroom 7, but it couldn't completely drown out the muffled sobs of the small figure seated at the defendant's table. 5-year-old Tommy Reynolds stared ahead with vacant eyes, his feet dangling far above the floor. He wore a navy blue suit that hung from his tiny frame like a costume, clearly borrowed or hastily purchased for this unthinkable occasion. Evelyn Carter felt her coffee turn cold in her hand as she watched the courthouse feed on her newsroom monitor. 20 years as an investigative journalist had hardened her against most shocking headlines. But this was different. A kindergartner facing charges that could put him away for life. A child who had barely learned to tie his shoes now facing the full weight of the American justice system. The defendant will rise for sentencing, the judge continued. Tommy didn't move. The court-appointed attorney gently helped him to his feet, placing a steadying hand on his shoulder. The child swayed slightly, his expression unchanged. In the case of the state versus Thomas Edward Reynolds, this court finds the defendant guilty of animal cruelty, resulting in death, destruction of property exceeding $1 million, and interference with a federal official's family security. Voices erupted in the gallery. Camera flashes strobed against the wood-paneled walls. Outside the courthouse, dueling crowds of protesters chanted competing slogans. Justice for Champion versus He's Just a Child. Evelyn scanned the courtroom feed for Tommy's mother. There, Diana. Reynolds stood in the back row, her posture rigid, face partially obscured by dark sunglasses despite the indoor setting. Something about her expression troubled Evelyn. It wasn't just grief or shock. For a fleeting moment, as the verdict was read, Diana's shoulders had relaxed, as if in relief. "This isn't right," Evelyn muttered, already reaching for her notebook. "Got your crusader face on again," remarked Greg, her editor, leaning against her desk. "I know that look. They're railroading a 5-year-old, Greg. The fastest juvenile trial in Connecticut history. 3 days from arrest to sentencing for killing a dog. Not just any dog," Greg reminded her. "Champion was worth over $1 million. 3-time national show winner. And it belonged to Senator Blackwell's daughter. I don't care if it was the presidential pet, something's wrong here." Evelyn's phone buzzed with a news alert. She glanced down to see the headline from a competing outlet. "Child Monster Gets Justice. America's Most Expensive Dog Avenged." Her stomach turned. 3 years ago, she'd written a similar headline about a local business owner accused of fraud. She'd been so certain of his guilt, so eager for the scoop. By the time evidence emerged clearing his name, his business was ruined, his reputation destroyed. He'd died by suicide 2 weeks after her retraction was published. "I want this story," she told Greg, already gathering her things. "The real story. Careful, Ev, the Blackwells aren't people you want as enemies, and public sentiment is strongly against the kid. Since when do we follow public sentiment instead of the truth?" she countered. Outside the courtroom, Diana Reynolds slipped away from reporters, her head down. Evelyn watched the courthouse feed as the young mother paused at the security checkpoint, glancing back toward the courtroom where her son was being led away in handcuffs sized for his tiny wrists. For just a moment, something flashed across Diana's face. Not grief, but something harder. Determination. Fear. Then Diana turned and whispered something to a tall man in an expensive suit who had appeared at her side. Though his face was partially obscured, Evelyn recognized him immediately. Senator Howard Blackwell himself. Why was the grieving dog owner escorting the mother of his pet's killer out of the courthouse? Millfield Juvenile. Detention center wasn't designed for someone Tommy's size. The facility, a converted wing of the county administrative building, typically housed teenagers awaiting trial or serving short sentences. Now it held the youngest prisoner in state history. "He's in isolation for his own protection," explained Director Simmons, leading Evelyn down a sterile hallway. "We've had to make accommodations." Evelyn had leveraged every contact and called in 3 favors to get this access. Even then, she was granted only 15 minutes of observation through a one-way window. No direct contact, no recording devices. Has his mother visited? Evelyn asked casually. Simmons checked his clipboard. Just once, 2 days ago. Brief visit. They stopped at a door marked Special Observation. Through the window, Evelyn saw a room that had been hastily converted from an office. The adult-sized bed had been replaced with a smaller cot. A few picture books sat untouched on a shelf. In the center of the room, Tommy Reynolds sat cross-legged on the floor, methodically arranging colored pencils in precise lines. "Does he speak at all?" Evelyn asked. "Not a word since arrival," Simmons replied. "The court-appointed psychiatrist, Dr. Foster, has been trying different approaches. So far, nothing." Evelyn studied the boy. His movements were careful, deliberate, lining up the pencils by color, then by size, then rearranging them into a circular pattern. His face revealed nothing, not fear, not sadness, not anger, just intense concentration on his task. "What about the evidence?" Evelyn asked. "I've heard rumors the case file was sealed unusually quickly." Simmons stiffened. "You'd have to speak with the police department about that. Detective Wilson handled the investigation." "Marcus Wilson?" Evelyn knew him. A solid cop with a reputation for thoroughness. Not the type to rush a case, especially one this sensitive. "That's right. Though I understand much of the forensic work was handled by the state lab at the senator's request. Expedited processing." Evelyn made a note. Senator. Blackwell's influence extended through every level of state government. His family had been Connecticut political royalty for generations. "One more thing," Evelyn said. "I understand Tommy's mother works, or worked, for the Blackwell family." Simmons checked his watch. "Your time is almost up, Ms. Carter." "It's a simple question," he sighed. "Diana Reynolds has been the Blackwell's housekeeper for approximately 3 years. Whether that arrangement continues after recent events, I couldn't say. 3 years. Tommy would have been just 2 when Diana started working there. He would have spent much of his young life in that house. "Thank you for your time," Evelyn said, taking one last look at the silent child. As she turned to leave, something caught her eye. Tommy had completed his arrangement of pencils. They formed a clear pattern now, a crude but recognizable drawing of a house, with a distinct area underneath, colored in dark brown. A basement. 2 hours later, Evelyn sat across from Detective Marcus Wilson at a coffee shop 3 blocks from the police station. The detective looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes and a perpetual frown creasing his forehead. "I shouldn't be talking to you," he said, stirring his coffee without drinking it. "Then why are you?" Wilson glanced around before leaning forward. "Because something isn't right with this case, and nobody seems to care." He slid a thin manila folder across the table. "This is all I can give you. Officially, the complete case file has been sealed by judicial order." Evelyn opened the folder. Inside was a single photograph, the crime scene. The dog, Champion, lay on what appeared to be a concrete floor. Blood pooled around its head. But what struck Evelyn immediately was the background. The setting wasn't the luxurious main floor of the Blackwell mansion where the attack supposedly occurred. It was a basement. "The official report says Tommy attacked the dog in the living room," Wilson said quietly. "So why was the body found down there?" When Evelyn looked up from the photo, Wilson was already standing to leave. "Detective, wait. I've got 3 kids and a mortgage, Carter. This is all I can do." He paused, then added, "Talk to the mother, but be careful who sees you doing it." As Wilson walked away, Evelyn turned the photograph over. On the back, someone had written in neat block letters, "Timestamps altered. Check cameras 3 and 7. The Reynolds apartment complex sat on the outskirts of Millfield, a faded brick building with peeling paint and a constantly out-of-order elevator. Evelyn climbed 4 flights of stairs, mentally comparing this modest dwelling to the Blackwell Estate, a 15-acre property featured in architectural magazines. She knocked on apartment 412, not expecting an answer. Diana Reynolds had refused all interview requests since the trial. To Evelyn's surprise, the door opened a few inches, secured by a chain. "Ms. Reynolds, I'm Evelyn Carter. From I know who you are." Diana's voice was soft but firm. I have nothing to say. Through the narrow opening, Evelyn caught glimpses of Diana's appearance. Dark circles under reddened eyes, hair pulled back severely, wearing what appeared to be a uniform, still working for the Blackwells. Apparently. I just want to understand what happened, for Tommy's sake. A flicker of something, pain, fear, crossed Diana's face at her son's name. You can't help him. No one can. The evidence doesn't add up, Evelyn pressed. The basement photo. The door slammed shut, then unexpectedly Evelyn heard the chain sliding. The door reopened fully and Diana pulled her inside with surprising strength. Are you insane? Diana hissed, checking the hallway before closing the door. Don't ever mention that here. The apartment was small but immaculate. No photos of Tommy were visible, all personal. Touches had been removed, leaving the space feeling temporary, institutional. They're watching, Diana said, her voice barely above a whisper. She moved to the kitchen, turning on the faucet and the small television simultaneously. They're always watching. Who is? Evelyn asked, matching Diana's hushed tone. Everyone, the police, the senator's people. Diana's hands trembled as she made tea neither of them would drink. Do you think it's coincidence that my neighbors suddenly received renovation vouchers requiring them to vacate for 3 weeks? That my sister got an unexpected job offer? In Seattle? Paranoia, Evelyn thought, or genuine fear. I need to understand what happened to Champion, Evelyn said carefully. Tommy is 5 years old. He couldn't have… My son did exactly what they said he did, Diana interrupted, her voice suddenly loud and clear, performed as if for hidden listeners. Then she grabbed a notepad, scribbled something, and held it up. Not here, not safe. So you believe Tommy killed the dog? Evelyn asked, playing along. Yes, he's always been troubled. Diana's words contradicted the tears now streaming down her face. She wrote again, tomorrow, park. 2 p.m. Come alone. Evelyn nodded slightly. Now please leave, Diana said loudly. I have nothing more to say to the press. At the door, Diana seized Evelyn's wrist, her grip desperate. They made me choose, she whispered, so faintly Evelyn almost missed it. What would you have done? Before Evelyn could respond, Diana pushed her out, slamming the door. Outside, Evelyn noticed a black SUV with tinted windows parked across the street. As she walked to her car, it pulled away from the curb, following at a distance. The next morning, Evelyn sat in Dr. Nathan Foster's office, reviewing Tommy's case file. The child psychiatrist had agreed to meet her, reluctantly, after she mentioned Detective Wilson's referral. Tommy's case troubles me professionally and ethically, Dr. Foster admitted, sliding a folder across his desk. These are his drawings from our sessions. The pages showed crayon. Sketches typical of a 5-year-old. Simple houses, stick figures, crude animals. But each contained disturbing elements. In every drawing, a small blue figure, presumably Tommy, stood separated from other figures. In several, a large black shape loomed in a brown area beneath the house. The basement, Evelyn murmured. Yes, he draws it repeatedly but becomes extremely agitated when asked about it. Foster pointed to another sketch. And here's the dog, always drawn in red, always with this larger figure nearby. Evelyn studied the drawing. The larger figure was merely a black outline, featureless except for what appeared to be a watch or bracelet on one arm. Could this be Senator Blackwell? Foster's expression remained carefully neutral. I cannot speculate. However, I will tell you that Tommy's silence isn't pathological or developmental. It's selective and situational. In my professional opinion, this child is terrified of speaking. Traumatized? Possibly, or threatened. Foster checked his watch. I've already said more than I should. The court sealed my complete evaluation at the request of both families. Both families? Evelyn repeated. Why would Diana Reynolds want to suppress evidence that might help her son? That, said Foster, gathering the drawings, is the question that keeps me awake at night. As Evelyn left the office, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Park meeting compromised. Diana Reynolds taken to hospital this morning. Official report. Suicide attempt. Millfield Memorial Hospital's psychiatric wing operated under strict visitor protocols. Evelyn had tried 3 different approaches to see Diana Reynolds: press credentials, claiming to be family, attempting to sweet-talk a nurse, all unsuccessful. Now she sat in her car in the parking lot, watching the staff entrance and contemplating less ethical options. Her phone rang. Greg, her editor. "Tell me you're not at the hospital," he said without preamble. "How did you—" "Hospital security called the paper. They're threatening to report you for harassment." Evelyn sighed. "I need to talk to her, Greg. She was about to tell me something important. And now she's under 72 hours psychiatric hold after allegedly swallowing a bottle of sleeping pills. Back off, Ev. This story is getting dangerous. That's exactly why I need to pursue it." Evelyn spotted a familiar figure exiting the staff door, Dr. Foster. "I'll call you back." She caught up with the psychiatrist at his car. "Dr. Foster, is Diana Reynolds your patient now?" Foster's expression tightened. "Ms. Carter, I can't discuss—" "Was it really a suicide attempt?" Evelyn pressed. The psychiatrist hesitated, then spoke carefully. "I've been asked to consult on Mrs. Reynolds's case. The timing of her incident is concerning, especially given our conversation yesterday." "You think it wasn't an attempt at all? That someone—" "I think," Foster interrupted, "that coincidences make me uncomfortable, particularly when they silence potential witnesses." He unlocked his car. "I'm late for an appointment." "With Tommy?" Foster nodded. "His condition has deteriorated since news of his mother's hospitalization. He's completely withdrawn now. Please, 5 minutes of your time. I'm, trying to help him." Foster considered her, then reached into his car for his briefcase. "There's something you should see." He handed her a folded paper. "Tommy drew this yesterday morning before he heard about his mother. The drawing showed the now familiar house with a basement. But this time, additional elements appeared. A stick figure lying down, surrounded by red. Next to it, a clock face showing 3, and words, childish, misspelled, but legible. Mommy next." "My God," Evelyn whispered. "It's a threat, or a warning." Foster took back the drawing. "I've already shared this with Detective Wilson. Now I'm late." As the psychiatrist drove away, Evelyn spotted a courthouse clerk she recognized walking toward the hospital entrance. Lisa Mendez had been handling document filing for the Tommy Reynolds case. "Lisa," Evelyn called, approaching her. "Are you here to see Diana Reynolds?" The clerk looked startled. "No, I'm visiting my aunt." "That's strange because the geriatric ward is in the other building." Lisa glanced nervously toward the hospital entrance. "Look, I can't talk to you. I'm sorry." She tried to move past Evelyn. "Lisa, please, if you know something." "About Tommy's case." The clerk stopped, conflict evident in her expression. "Check the filing timestamps," she finally whispered. "Case number CR 2024-13687. The original complaint. It wasn't against the boy." Before Evelyn could ask more, Lisa hurried inside. Back at the newspaper office, Evelyn hunched over her computer, searching court records. Case CR 2024-13687 wasn't in the public database. She tried accessing it through the newspaper's legal portal. No results. "It's been scrubbed," she muttered. "What's been scrubbed?" Greg asked, appearing beside her desk. "A case file Lisa Mendez told me about. The original complaint apparently wasn't against Tommy." Greg frowned. "That makes no sense. If Tommy wasn't the original suspect, why railroaded a 5-year-old? "Exactly." Evelyn grabbed her jacket. "I need to see Detective Wilson again." "He's not talking to you," Greg said. "Word. He's been placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. Something about evidence mishandling. They're silencing everyone," Evelyn realized. "Diana, Wilson, now Lisa probably." Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Blackwell security cameras. Server backup at Milltech Solutions. Ask for James." "I have to go," she told Greg. "Where this time?" "Better if you don't know." Milltech Solutions operated out of a nondescript office park on the edge of town. Inside, Evelyn found a reception area with no receptionist, just a sign-in screen and a security door. She pressed the intercom. "I'm looking for James," she said. Regarding the Blackwell security backup, after a long pause, the door buzzed open. A young man with thick glasses and a nervous demeanor waited inside. "You shouldn't be here," he said immediately. "How did you even know about the backup?" "I'm trying to help a 5-year-old boy who can't help himself," Evelyn replied. "Do you have the footage or not?" James led her to a small office crammed with servers and monitors. "We maintain off-site backups for several high-profile clients," he explained, typing rapidly. "The Blackwell system automatically uploads to our secure cloud every 24 hours. So you have footage from the day Champion died?" James nodded grimly. "I do, and I've been waiting for someone to ask for it." He swiveled a monitor toward her. "Because what's on here doesn't match what was submitted to the police." The screen showed a timestamp, 3:17 p.m., May 14th. The camera angle captured the Blackwell mansion's basement stairs. A figure descended slowly, carrying something in their arms. It wasn't Tommy Reynolds. The figure on the screen was Senator Blackwell himself. In his arms, he carried the limp form of Champion, the prize-winning show dog. The animal wasn't moving. "This is 3 hours before the alleged attack by Tommy," James explained, checking another monitor nervously. "According to court records, the dog was killed around 6:30 p.m. "The dog was already dead," Evelyn whispered, leaning closer. "To the screen. Can you follow where he takes it?" James typed commands, switching camera angles. The footage showed Blackwell placing the dog's body on a concrete floor, arranging it carefully. Then he looked directly at the camera, reached up, and the feed went black. "He deliberately cut the recording," James said, "but he didn't know about the backup system. It continues recording even when the main system is disabled." He pulled up another file. "This is from a secondary camera in the basement, hidden in a smoke detector. Security installed it last year after a break-in attempt. This angle showed a wider view of the basement. Senator Blackwell knelt beside the dog, produced what appeared to be a small knife, and made several precise cuts on the animal's body. "He's staging it," Evelyn realized, "making it look like an attack." "Exactly. But watch what happens next." The basement door opened. Tommy appeared at the top of the stairs, followed closely by Diana. The child froze upon seeing the scene below. Senator Blackwell looked up, his expression shifting from shock to something calculating. Though there was no audio, it was clear an intense conversation followed. Diana pulled Tommy back, shielding him, while Blackwell gestured emphatically. "Do you have audio from any cameras?" Evelyn asked. James shook his head. "Just video. But the timestamps don't lie. Whatever happened to that dog, it was already dead when Tommy encountered it. I need copies of everything. I've already prepared this." James handed her a small USB drive. "Every relevant clip, plus the system logs showing when the original footage was altered. I'm leaving town tonight. My cousin in Seattle has a job waiting." The mention of Seattle triggered Evelyn's memory. Diana's sister suddenly got a job in Seattle too. They're clearing out witnesses. James nodded grimly. "Which is why you should make copies of that drive immediately. Multiple copies. Different locations." "Why are you helping me?" James hesitated. "My younger brother has autism. He doesn't speak much. Sometimes people assume that means he doesn't understand, or that he's incapable." He looked at the screen showing the frozen image of Tommy on the stairs. That kid didn't hurt anyone, but he saw something he wasn't supposed to see. As Evelyn left Miltech, she noticed a black SUV parked across the street, the same as one from outside Diana's apartment. This time, she photographed the license plate before driving away. Back at her apartment, Evelyn uploaded the video files to 3 separate cloud accounts and made 2 physical backups. As she worked, her mind raced. The footage proved Tommy didn't kill Champion, but it raised bigger questions. Why would Senator Blackwell stage the dog's death? Why frame a 5-year-old? And why would Diana allow her son to take the blame? Her phone rang, an unknown number. "Ms. Carter?" The voice was female, trembling slightly. "This is Lisa Mendez from the courthouse. I don't have much time. You need to look into case file CR 2024-1X87. I tried. It's been removed from the system. Because it wasn't against Tommy. The original complaint named Jessica Blackwell as the defendant. The senator's daughter? She's only 12. She has issues. There have been previous incidents with animals. The family covered them up with money. But Champion was different. Too valuable. Too public. Lisa's voice dropped lower. The original complaint was filed by Diana Reynolds. Before Evelyn could respond, she heard a crash through the phone, followed by Lisa's scream. Then silence. Evelyn tried calling Lisa back repeatedly. No answer. She dialed the police, reported what she'd heard, then grabbed her keys. Whatever had happened to Lisa, Evelyn couldn't wait for official channels. The courthouse was nearly empty at this late hour. Security would be minimal, but still present. Evelyn used her press badge to enter the public records office, smiling at the night guard as if nothing was amiss. "Working late, Ms. Carter?" "Deadline never sleeps, Frank." She forced a casual tone. "Is Lisa Mendez still around?" "She was helping me with some filings." Frank frowned. "Lisa left about 30 minutes ago. Seemed in a hurry." Evelyn's heart raced. "Did she say where she was going?" "No, but she was with 2 men in suits. Lawyer types, I figured. Or Blackwell's security team." Evelyn thanked Frank and slipped into the records room. Lisa's desk showed signs of hasty departure. Computer still on, purse still hanging on her chair. A half-empty coffee cup sat beside a stack of folders, one left open. Evelyn glanced toward the door, then quickly photographed the visible documents. Case numbers, dates, a list of juvenile defendants. Nothing immediately revealing, but potentially valuable. As she reached to close the folder, she noticed writing on the coffee cup, Locker 22B. The employee locker room was in the basement. Evelyn found it unlocked, deserted. Locker 22B had no lock. Inside was a manila envelope. She grabbed it and hurried back upstairs, heart pounding. Safe in her car, Evelyn opened the envelope. Inside was a flash drive and a handwritten note. "If you're reading this, something happened to me. I've been keeping copies of everything unusual. The senator's daughter has a history. Animal incidents, behavioral reports from school, psychiatric evaluations. All sealed by judicial order, all paid for by her father. Diana Reynolds filed a report after witnessing Jessica injure another animal. 2 days later, Champion was dead, and suddenly a 5-year-old was the perfect scapegoat. Lisa." Evelyn plugged the drive into her laptop. It contained dozens of files, court records, police reports, school incident reports, all related to Jessica Blackwell. One report from Jessica's private school described the girl killing classroom hamsters. Another detailed an incident with a neighbor's cat found hanging from a tree. Each time, the Blackwell family's response was the same. Private therapy, generous donations, sealed records. Most disturbing was a psychiatric evaluation from 6 months earlier. The doctor described Jessica as showing concerning patterns of animal cruelty, lack of empathy, and manipulative behaviors towards peers. The recommendation was intensive inpatient treatment. Instead, Senator Blackwell had hired a private therapist who prescribed medication and continued home care. Evelyn's phone rang. Detective Wilson. "Where are you?" he demanded without greeting. "In my car. I just found Lisa Mendez is missing," he cut in. "Her apartment shows signs of struggle. Are you somewhere safe?" "I think so. I have evidence, Marcus. Proof that Jessica Blackwell was the original suspect." A long silence. "The senator's security team is looking for you. They've been monitoring police channels. You need to disappear for a while." "I'm not running. I have security camera footage showing Blackwell staging the crime scene." "Jesus, Evelyn." Wilson's voice dropped. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. This goes beyond a dead dog or a framed kid. The senator is announcing his candidacy for governor tomorrow. His campaign is based on criminal justice reform and family values. He can't afford any scandals involving his daughter's issues. So Tommy takes the fall? A 5-year-old? Meet me at Riverside Park in 30 minutes. Bring everything you have." As Evelyn turned the key in, the ignition, her headlights illuminated a figure standing directly in front of her car. Diana Reynolds stared through the windshield, her hospital gown visible beneath a hastily donned coat, her eyes wide and desperate. "They have my sister," she said when Evelyn rolled down the window. "And now, they're coming for us." "Get in," Evelyn said, unlocking the passenger door. Diana slipped inside, bringing with her the sharp smell of hospital antiseptic. Her wrists bore the telltale marks of restraints. "How did you escape the hospital?" Evelyn asked, pulling away from the courthouse. "When they brought dinner, I pretended to have an allergic reaction. In the confusion, I walked out through the service entrance." Diana's voice was steady, but her hands trembled. "They weren't keeping me for my safety. It was containment." "Who's they? The senator's people?" Diana nodded. "Howard has connections everywhere, police, courts, hospitals. He called me an hour ago. Said they have my sister Rachel and her kids in Seattle. Said I needed to stick to the script, or else." She turned to Evelyn. "I've been protecting Tommy the only way I knew how, by letting him take the blame." "The video shows Tommy didn't hurt Champion," Evelyn said. "Why frame him at all? Why not just say the dog died of natural causes?" "Because Jessica killed it." Diana stared out the window at the passing streetlights. "Not the first animal either. I reported her after finding her hurting a neighbor's pet. Howard promised she'd get help. Instead," she trailed off, tears forming. "Champion was supposed to compete in the national championships. Jessica was angry about the training schedule. She did something to the dog. When Howard found out, he created this elaborate cover-up. But why involve Tommy? Because he saw everything." Diana's voice broke. "My son was in the house that day. He followed Jessica to the basement, watched her hurt Champion. When Howard found them, he made a choice. His daughter's future versus my son's. They arrived at Riverside Park 10 minutes early. The area was deserted, street lamps casting long shadows across empty benches. "I don't like this," Diana whispered. "Too exposed." Evelyn considered their options. "Detective Wilson told me to meet him here. He's trying to help." "Wilson?" Diana's eyes widened. "He's the one who told me to keep quiet or they'd hurt Rachel. He showed me pictures of her house in Seattle, her kids' school." Evelyn felt a cold certainty settle in her stomach. "We need to leave. Now." Too late. Headlights swept across them as 3 unmarked cars entered the park from different access points, blocking potential exits. "He sold us out," Diana whispered. Evelyn grabbed the flash drives from her bag and pressed them into Diana's hand. "Run. Find Dr. Foster. Tell him everything. I'll stall them." Diana hesitated. "They'll hurt you. They need me alive to find out who else knows. Go." As Diana slipped into the darkness, Evelyn stepped into the headlights' glare. Detective Wilson emerged from the center vehicle, flanked by 2 men in suits. "Where's the Reynolds woman?" he demanded. "Safe, like we'll both be once the press gets hold of this story." Evelyn raised her phone. "I'm live streaming to my editor. Right now. Everything we say, everything that happens." Wilson's eyes narrowed. "You're bluffing. Try me. I have copies of the security footage, Jessica's psychiatric reports, and Lisa Mendez's evidence cache, all safely distributed to multiple sources, set to release automatically if I don't. Check in every 3 hours." One of the suited men whispered something to Wilson, who nodded grimly. "You think this is about protecting a troubled girl or a politician's career," Wilson said. "It's bigger than that. The Blackwell family connections go all the way to Washington. What that girl did, what she's capable of doing. Certain people can't afford that information getting out. A 5-year-old is taking the fall for something he didn't do," Evelyn countered. "That's where I draw the line." Wilson took a step closer. "Then you should know the whole truth. About the real reason Diana Reynolds let her son take the blame. About who Tommy's father is." Behind Wilson, the 3rd car's door opened. Senator Howard Blackwell stepped out, his expression grim in the harsh headlights. "I think," he said, "we should discuss this somewhere more private." The Blackwell estate's study felt like entering another world. Leather-bound books lined the walls. A fire crackled in a stone hearth, and crystal decanters of amber liquor caught the warm light. It was hard to imagine that just downstairs, a staged crime scene had sealed a child's fate. "I'm not here for hospitality," Evelyn said, refusing the offered seat. She kept her phone visible, still recording. "Tell me about Tommy's father." Senator Blackwell sighed, pouring himself a drink with steady hands. Detective Wilson stood by the door, uncomfortable but vigilant. "Diana and I had an affair," Blackwell said simply. 5 years. Go before she worked here. She was a paralegal at my law firm. When she became pregnant, certain arrangements were made. Arrangements, Evelyn repeated, disgust evident in her voice. Financial support, discretion, eventually employment in my household. My wife never knew, no one did. He sipped his drink. Then Jessica began showing concerning behaviors. The therapists suggested she needed structure, routine, responsibility. So you bought her a show dog, Evelyn concluded. A living creature as therapy. Blackwell's expression hardened. Champion was more than that. He was valuable, prestigious. I thought caring for him would teach her empathy. Instead, she killed him. It was an accident, Blackwell snapped. She gave him something, medication she'd been stealing from her mother. She didn't mean to kill him, just make him sick enough to miss a competition. She was jealous of my attention to the dog's training. Evelyn struggled to keep her composure. So you framed your own biological son to protect your daughter. I protected both my children the only way I could. Blackwell set down his glass. If Jessica's condition became public, she'd be institutionalized, labeled for life. Tommy is young enough that juvenile records will be sealed. In 10 years, he'll have a fresh start. I've established a trust fund that will set him up for life once he's released. You're justifying destroying a 5-year-old's life. I'm salvaging what I can from an impossible situation. For the first time, Blackwell's composed facade cracked. Do you know what they'd do to Jessica if this got out? What they'd say about her, about our family? And Diana agreed to this. She made a mother's choice, Wilson interjected quietly. Protect one child now. Hope to save the other later. Evelyn shook her head. You're all complicit in this, and for what? Your reputation, your political aspirations? You're naive, Ms. Carter. Blackwell's voice cooled again. This isn't just about my career. My family has connections to national security interests. Jessica's psychological evaluation contains information that could compromise sensitive matters if it became public. You expect me to believe this is a matter of national security? Evelyn scoffed. I expect you to understand there are forces bigger than one unfortunate child. Blackwell nodded to Wilson, who produced a folder. These are travel documents, access to an offshore account, and a contract with an international news agency. If you agree to drop this story, you'll be on a plane to Paris tonight. A fresh start, prestigious position, financial security. Evelyn stared at the folder, then at the two men. You're trying to buy me off. I'm offering you a way out, Blackwell corrected. The alternative is less pleasant. Accusations of evidence tampering, interfering with a judicial proceeding, possibly aiding Diana's escape from medical custody. Your career would be over. Your credibility destroyed. You'd frame me too. Blackwell spread his hands. I'd rather not. I admire your principles, misguided as they are in this case. A soft knock at the door interrupted them. Wilson opened it, revealing one of Blackwell's security men. Sir, there's a situation. The Reynolds woman was spotted near the gatehouse. Find her, Blackwell ordered, and check on Jessica. Make sure she's in her room. As the man left, Evelyn noticed something she hadn't before. A framed photo on the desk, partially hidden behind a stack of books. It showed a younger Diana Reynolds in a summer dress laughing, her hand resting on her pregnant belly. Senator Blackwell stood beside her, his arm around her shoulders, looking genuinely happy. You were in love with her, Evelyn realized. Blackwell's expression changed, vulnerability flashing across his features. That, he said quietly, is irrelevant now. A sudden crash from somewhere in the house shattered the moment. Then came a sound that chilled Evelyn's blood. A child's scream, desperate and terrified. The scream galvanized them all. Blackwell was first out the door, Wilson close behind. Evelyn followed, heart racing. They sprinted down the hallway toward the sound, reaching a large bedroom decorated in pastels and competition ribbons. Jessica's room. The door stood open. Inside, Diana Reynolds stood rigidly by the window, a letter opener gripped in her shaking hand. Across the room, Jessica Blackwell, a thin girl with her father's piercing eyes, pressed herself against her closet door, face white with terror. She was in my room, Jessica gasped, pointing at Diana. Going through my things. Diana didn't move, didn't speak. Her gaze remained fixed on the girl. Diana, Blackwell said carefully, put that down. Let's talk about this. Talk? Diana's voice was eerily calm. Like we talked about framing my son? Like we talked about Jessica's accidental killing of Champion? Wilson moved slowly toward Diana, hands raised placatingly. Think about Tommy. He needs you. Tommy needs justice. Diana countered, tears streaming down her face. She's done this before. Animals, other children. And every time Howard covers it up, pays people off, makes problems disappear. Evelyn noticed something on Jessica's desk. A leather-bound journal, open to a page filled with disturbing sketches of animals. In distress. It wasn't an accident, Diana continued, her voice breaking. Show them, Jessica. Show them what you wrote in your journal about what you did to Champion. Jessica's expression transformed, childish fear giving way to something cold and calculating. Daddy, she's crazy. She broke in, here to hurt me, just like she hurt Champion. What? Diana gasped. She was jealous, Jessica continued, her voice steady as she addressed her father. She told me so. Jealous that you spent more time with me and Champion than with her and Tommy. She poisoned Champion and tried to blame me. Blackwell looked between the two, uncertainty crossing his features for the first time. That's a lie, Diana whispered. Is it? Jessica challenged. Daddy, check her coat pocket. She took something from my bathroom. Wilson moved forward, quickly patting Diana's pockets despite her protests. From 1. He withdrew a small prescription bottle. Lorazepam, he read, looking at Blackwell. Same drug found in the dog's system. That's not mine, Diana insisted. She planted it. Howard, you know me. You know I wouldn't. I know you were desperate. Blackwell cut in, his expression hardening. Desperate enough to let Tommy take the blame temporarily, thinking we'd eventually clear him. But what if that was never the plan? What if you were the one who hurt Champion, using my daughter's history to deflect suspicion? Evelyn stepped forward. Wait, this doesn't make sense. She pointed to the journal on Jessica's desk. We need to see what's in that journal. Stay out of this, Wilson warned her. But Evelyn had already moved toward the desk. Jessica lunged to intercept her, but not before Evelyn glimpsed several pages. Detailed drawings of Champion, notes about medication dosages, and a chilling entry. Daddy cares more about Champion than me. After today, there won't be any Champion. She documented it all, Evelyn said. It's right here. Jessica slammed the journal shut, her composure cracking. She's lying. There's nothing in there. Blackwell looked at his daughter, really looked at her perhaps for the first time. Jessica, let me see the journal. No. Jessica clutched it to her chest. She's trying to trick you. She's always hated me just like Mom hates me. Everyone wants to send me away. No one's sending you anywhere, Blackwell assured her, reaching for the journal. I just need to see— Stay away! Jessica screamed, backing toward her bathroom. If you take this, I'll tell everyone about Tommy, about how he's really your son, about all the things you did to keep it secret. The room fell silent. In that moment of shocked stillness, Dr. Nathan Foster appeared in the doorway, Tommy Reynolds beside him. I think, Foster said quietly, it's time everyone heard the truth, from the only witness who hasn't had a chance to speak. For the first time since his arrest, Tommy Reynolds opened his mouth to talk. The room's atmosphere shifted as all eyes turned to Tommy. The boy stood small but straight-backed beside Dr. Foster, wearing pajamas and hospital slippers. His face, previously blank and unreadable, now showed clear determination. Tommy, Diana whispered, dropping the letter opener. Baby, you shouldn't be here. I brought him, Doctor, Foster explained. After Diana contacted me, I realized Tommy needed to face this, all of it. He's been discharged from detention? Wilson asked sharply. Into my temporary custody, by emergency court order, Foster confirmed. Judge Hernandez signed it an hour ago. Blackwell stepped forward, his expression softening as he looked at the boy. Tommy, you don't have to. Yes, he does, Evelyn interjected. Everyone's been speaking for him, about him, around him. It's time we heard from Tommy himself. Tommy looked up at Dr. Foster, who nodded encouragingly. The boy took a deep breath. Jessica hurt Champion, he said, his voice small but clear. I saw her. Jessica's face contorted with anger. He's lying. Daddy, he's making it up. Tommy continued as if she hadn't spoken. She told me she was giving Champion special medicine to make him better at jumping. But she was really mad. At him. At you too, he added, looking at Blackwell. What happened next, Tommy? Foster prompted gently. Champion got really sick. He fell down in the basement. Jessica got scared and ran upstairs. Tommy's eyes filled with tears. I tried to help him, but he was shaking, then he stopped moving. Then what happened? Evelyn asked softly. Senator Blackwell came downstairs. He saw me with Champion and got really angry. Tommy looked at Blackwell. You said I killed him. You said no one would believe me if I said Jessica did it. Diana moved toward her son, but Wilson stepped between them. Let him finish. Tommy's voice grew stronger. You told my mom that if I went away for a little while, you'd make sure Jessica got help. You promised we'd be a real family after. But you lied. Blackwell's composure cracked entirely. I was trying to protect both of you. Jessica needs specialized care, and if this became public, you were protecting yourself, Foster interrupted. Your reputation, your career, your family name. Jessica suddenly lunged for the door, but Wilson caught her arm. Let me go, she screamed, struggling. They're all lying about me. Jessica, Blackwell said. Sharply, stop this, now. To everyone's surprise, she immediately went still, her expression transforming into calculated calm. Fine, maybe I did give Champion something, but it was just to make him sick for one competition. I didn't mean to kill him. Her voice took on a practiced, reasonable tone that sounded disturbingly adult. It was an accident, like you said. And Tommy was there. He could have stopped me, but he didn't. He's partly responsible, too. The calculated manipulation in her young voice sent chills through the room. Evelyn turned to Wilson. Detective, you have a choice to make. Continue this cover-up or do your job. Wilson looked at Blackwell, then at the two children. One a victim, one clearly troubled. His decision was visible in the straightening of his shoulders. Senator Howard Blackwell, I'm placing you under arrest for obstruction of justice, evidence, tampering, and conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. He turned to Jessica. And I'm remanding Jessica into protective custody pending psychiatric evaluation. You can't do this, Blackwell hissed. One call from me, and your career is over. My career was over the moment I helped frame a 5-year-old, Wilson replied, reaching for his handcuffs. Before he could take them out, the bedroom window exploded inward in a shower of glass. Outside, red and blue lights flashed as a voice boomed through a megaphone. This is the FBI. Everyone inside the house, remain where you are with your hands visible. Through the broken window, Evelyn spotted Lisa Mendez standing beside a federal agent, pointing toward the house. What the hell is this? Blackwell demanded, face pale with shock. Tommy looked up at his mother. I told you the FBI lady would help us. FBI lady? Diana echoed, confused. The one who visited me in detention, Tommy explained simply. She said she was investigating Senator Blackwell for a long time. She promised if I was brave and told the truth, she'd make everything okay. The Blackwell Mansion's grand foyer had been transformed into an impromptu command center. FBI agents moved efficiently through the house, collecting evidence, securing rooms, and processing those present. Evelyn sat on an antique bench, watching the controlled chaos with journalistic detachment despite her central role in unraveling the case. Special Agent Rebecca Martinez sat across from her, recording their conversation. Unlike the stereotype of stern federal agents, Martinez had kind eyes and a gentle demeanor that explained how she'd gained Tommy's trust. So you never identified yourself as FBI to Tommy, Evelyn clarified. No, Martinez confirmed. I was posing as a court-appointed counselor. We'd received whistleblower information about Senator Blackwell months ago. Financial irregularities, possible blackmail, obstruction of justice. But we needed more. When the Champion case hit the news, It raised red flags. A 5-year-old fast-tracked through the justice system. The senator's direct involvement? It had all the hallmarks of a cover-up. And Lisa Mendez. She's working with you. Ms. Mendez contacted our public corruption hotline after noticing irregularities in the court filings. She's been cooperating with our investigation for weeks, documenting everything. Evelyn thought back to the attack she'd heard over the phone. The incident at her apartment? Staged with her cooperation to protect her cover. We needed her to disappear convincingly. Martinez smiled slightly. She's actually quite safe in our field office right now, finalizing her statement. Across the foyer, Diana sat with Tommy, her arm protectively around him as a medical examiner checked his vitals. The boy looked exhausted but remarkably calm. What happens to them now? Evelyn asked. Tommy's conviction will be vacated immediately. As for Diana Reynolds, that's more complicated. She participated in the cover-up, but under duress and with what appears to be genuine concern for her child's safety. The U.S. attorney will make the final call, but I suspect she'll be offered immunity in exchange for testimony. And Jessica? Martinez's expression turned grave. She'll undergo comprehensive psychiatric evaluation. The evidence of her involvement in Champion's death is substantial, but she's 12. With documented psychological issues that were criminally neglected by her father. She needs treatment, not punishment. Agent Kowalski, Martinez's partner, approached with a file. We found the hidden safe in Blackwell's office. It contained what appears to be blackmail material on several officials, including Judge Morris, who presided over Tommy's case. So it wasn't just about protecting Jessica, Evelyn realized. He was using this situation to gather leverage. Blackwell's been playing this game for years, Kowalski confirmed, using people's secrets against them, building a network of compromised officials. The Champion case was just one thread in a much larger web. Detective Wilson was being escorted to a separate vehicle, hands cuffed behind his back. He caught Evelyn's eye as he passed, his expression a mixture of resignation and relief. Senator Blackwell emerged from his study flanked by agents, his hands similarly cuffed. Unlike Wilson, his face showed only cold fury. As he passed Tommy and Diana, he stopped. I was trying to protect our family, he said quietly. All of us. Diana met his gaze steadily. We were never a family to you, Howard. We were possessions, things to control and arrange to your benefit. That's not true, he insisted. I love. Senator, keep moving. Martinez interrupted, gesturing to, the agents. As Blackwell was led away, Dr. Foster approached Evelyn with Tommy's drawings in hand. There's something you should see, he said, spreading several pages on the bench beside her. The drawings showed the basement scene from Tommy's perspective. Champion on the floor, Jessica standing. Nearby, Blackwell descending the stairs. But in the background of each drawing, partially obscured, was another figure watching from the shadows. I didn't notice it before, Foster said, but Tommy's been trying to tell us something else all along. Evelyn studied the shadowy figure, a woman, drawn, with careful detail. Not Diana, but someone else entirely. Who is this? She asked, showing the drawing to Tommy. The boy looked at it, then at his mother, who had gone very pale. That's the lady who gave Jessica the medicine for Champion, Tommy said simply. The one who's always watching us. Eleanor, Diana whispered, her voice barely audible. Senator Blackwell's wife. Eleanor Blackwell had been conspicuously absent throughout the investigation. Now, as FBI agents searched for her throughout the estate, Agent Martinez questioned Diana in the kitchen, away from Tommy's ears. Evelyn, granted permission to observe as a cooperating witness, listened intently. Eleanor knew everything. Diana explained, hands wrapped around a mug of untouched tea. About Howard's affair with me, about Tommy being his son. She's known for years. But she never left him? Martinez asked. The Blackwells don't divorce. It's a family motto, practically. Eleanor comes from old money, too. Appearances matter above all else. Diana's voice trembled slightly. When I became pregnant, it was Eleanor who arranged my silence, not Howard. She orchestrated the financial settlement, my employment in, their home. Everything. Martinez leaned forward. Are you suggesting Eleanor was involved in Champion's death? Diana closed her eyes briefly. Eleanor has always managed Jessica's problems. When Jessica started hurting animals as a young child, Eleanor covered it up, paid people off, switched. Her schools, whatever it took to keep things quiet, she enabled it all. But why would she want Champion dead? The dog was valuable to the family. It wasn't about the dog. It was about control. Diana set down her mug. Howard was planning to leave Eleanor. I found documents in his office, divorce. Papers, property divisions. Champion's next competition was in Paris, and Howard had booked tickets for himself, Jessica, and me. Eleanor must have found out. So she used Jessica's existing tendencies as a weapon, Evelyn concluded, encouraged her to harm Champion, knowing it would create a crisis. A crisis Eleanor could control, Diana confirmed. She's the one who suggested Tommy take the blame, said it was the only way to protect Jessica while keeping the family intact. She knew Howard would never let his biological son suffer long-term. We'd arranged for Tommy to be declared incompetent, sent to a treatment facility instead of juvenile detention. Then once everything died down, Howard would use his influence to have the conviction overturned. But that's not what happened, Martinez noted. No. Once Tommy was in custody, everything changed. Howard became distant. Eleanor took charge of everything, the legal strategy, the media narrative. She made sure Tommy's case was fast-tracked, that he received the harshest possible sentence. Agent Kowalski entered, looking grim. We can't find Eleanor Blackwell anywhere on the property. Her office shows signs of hasty departure, empty drawers, missing passport. And there's more. He handed Martinez a tablet. Security camera footage from 3 days ago. Eleanor in the basement with Jessica. The video showed Eleanor kneeling beside her daughter, handing her a small bottle, demonstrating how to use the dropper it contained. There was no audio, but the intent was clear from their gestures. She was instructing her, Martinez said, coaching her, using her own daughter as a weapon, Evelyn added, and then using Tommy as a scapegoat. A young agent burst into the kitchen. We found something in Mrs. Blackwell's closet. He held up an evidence bag containing a child's drawing, one of Tommy's, with a handwritten note attached. I know what you did, both of you. She was blackmailing her own husband and daughter, Martinez realized. Agent Martinez! Another agent called from the hallway. You need to see this. Now. They followed him to Eleanor's private study where agents had pried open a hidden panel behind a bookshelf. Inside was a small safe containing a laptop, several thumb drives, and a leather-bound journal. An agent carefully flipped through the journal wearing gloves. It's all here, he said. Detailed records of Jessica's incidents going back years. Eleanor was documenting everything. The cover-ups, the payoffs, the manipulation. Why would she keep evidence of her own complicity? Evelyn wondered. Insurance, Martinez suggested. Leverage over her husband. Diana had gone very pale. There's something else you need to know about Eleanor. Something I discovered recently. She took a deep breath. She's been visiting Tommy in detention, posing as his court-appointed guardian. Evelyn felt cold dread settle in her stomach. Where is Tommy now? The sudden realization sent them rushing back to the foyer, where Dr. Foster stood alone, Tommy nowhere in sight. He went to the bathroom, Foster explained, alarmed by their urgency, with the woman who said she was his grandmother. The Blackwell estate erupted into controlled chaos as FBI agents coordinated. Search for Tommy and Eleanor. Diana, nearly hysterical, was being comforted by Dr. Foster while Evelyn joined Agent Martinez in the security room, reviewing footage from the mansion's extensive camera system. There, Evelyn pointed at a monitor. Rear garden entrance heading toward the May garage. The grainy footage showed Eleanor guiding Tommy by the shoulder, her other hand gripping something in her pocket. The boy wasn't struggling. He appeared to be talking to her calmly. She won't hurt him, Diana insisted, having joined them. She needs him alive as leverage. Martinez wasn't taking chances. All units, suspects heading for the garage complex. Approach with caution. Child hostage situation. Suspect possibly armed. They rushed to the garage area, a separate building housing the Blackwell's collection of luxury vehicles. As they approached, they heard the distinctive sound of an engine starting. "Tommy!" Diana screamed, breaking away from the group. Inside the garage, Eleanor Blackwell sat behind the wheel of a black Range Rover, Tommy in the passenger seat. As Diana appeared in the doorway, Eleanor raised what appeared to be a syringe to Tommy's neck. "Stay back," she commanded, her voice surprisingly steady. "Or I administer this." Martinez signaled the team to hold position. "Mrs. Blackwell, you're surrounded. There's nowhere to go." "There's always somewhere to go when you have resources," Eleanor replied with chilling composure. She addressed Diana directly. "Did you really think I'd let you destroy everything we've built? That I'd let Howard walk away with his secret son and mistress while I got nothing?" "Please," Diana begged. "He's just a child." "So is Jessica," Eleanor countered. "My daughter needs help, not prison. Tommy is my insurance policy." Evelyn stepped forward cautiously. "Mrs. Blackwell, I'm Evelyn Carter. We haven't met, but—" "The journalist," Eleanor interrupted. "I know exactly who you are, always digging, never understanding the bigger picture." "Then help me understand," Evelyn said, maintaining eye contact. "Tell me your side. That's all I want. The truth." Eleanor's perfectly manicured hand trembled slightly, the syringe still poised near Tommy's neck. The boy remained unnaturally calm, watching Evelyn with those solemn eyes. "You think this is about a dog, or a troubled girl, or a senator's ambitions," Eleanor said. "It's about family, legacy, things people like you could never understand." Tommy suddenly spoke, his voice clear and steady. "It's okay, Ms. Evelyn. Grandma Eleanor isn't going to hurt me. She just wants to take me to her special doctor." The child's words, so incongruously normal in this tense standoff, created a moment of confusion, one that Agent Martinez seized. In a fluid motion, she raised her taser and fired. Eleanor Blackwell sat rigidly in the FBI field office's interrogation room, her designer outfit incongruous against the sterile surroundings. Across the table, Agent Martinez organized a folder of evidence while Evelyn observed from behind one-way glass, alongside U.S. Attorney Caroline Diaz. "She's waived her right to counsel for this initial conversation," Diaz explained. "Insists she wants to clarify misunderstandings before involving lawyers. That's rarely a good decision." On the other side of the building, Diana and Tommy were being interviewed separately, Diana giving her formal statement, Tommy working with a specialized child forensic interviewer trained to gather testimony without leading or traumatizing young witnesses. "Eleanor won't break easily," Evelyn observed. "She's been maintaining appearances her entire life." Inside the interrogation room, Martinez began methodically laying out photographs, Champion's body, Tommy's drawings, security footage stills, and finally pages from Eleanor's own journal. "Let's talk about these records you kept," Martinez said. "Detailed documentation of Jessica's concerning behaviors, beginning at age 4, notes on payments made to silence witnesses, even medication logs. Why document your own complicity?" Eleanor's composure remained intact. "Those are a mother's private notes about her child's health struggles, nothing more." "And this?" Martinez slid forward the security footage of Eleanor instructing Jessica with the dropper bottle. "I was showing her how to administer Champion's prescribed supplements. The dog had joint issues." Martinez raised an eyebrow. "The toxicology report found lorazepam. Lethal doses, not joint supplements." Jessica must have confused the bottles. "A tragic accident. An accident you tried to pin on a 5-year-old boy." Eleanor's perfect mask slipped for just a moment, revealing a flash of contempt. "Tommy was never supposed to be in our lives. Howard's indiscretion, his weakness, threatened everything. When the opportunity presented itself to solve both problems, Jessica's incident and Howard's divided loyalties, I made a practical decision. By framing a child for a crime he didn't commit, by ensuring my daughter received private treatment instead of public vilification, while reminding my husband where his true responsibilities lie." Eleanor straightened her already impeccable posture. Everything I've done has been to protect my family. A soft knock interrupted them. An agent entered and whispered something to Martinez, whose expression changed subtly. "Mrs. Blackwell, I need to step out briefly. Please excuse me." Behind the glass, Diaz received a message on her phone. Reading it, she turned to Evelyn. They found something in the Blackwells' basement. Something that changes everything. The courthouse was packed as Judge Hernandez prepared to announce her decision. 3 months had passed since the night at the Blackwell mansion. Tommy sat between Diana and Dr. Foster, looking healthier and more animated than Evelyn had ever seen him. Senator Howard Blackwell, released on bail pending multiple federal charges, sat with his legal team, deliberately avoiding looking at his wife across the aisle. Eleanor Blackwell, denied bail due to flight risk and attempted kidnapping charges, wore prison-issued clothing instead of her usual designer attire. Jessica was absent, now receiving treatment at a specialized juvenile psychiatric facility. Evelyn slipped into a seat beside Detective Wilson, also awaiting trial but cooperating fully with investigators. His testimony had been crucial in unraveling the full extent of the conspiracy. "Never thought I'd see this day," he murmured to Evelyn. "Justice actually being served." Judge Hernandez gavelled the court to order. "In the matter of Thomas Edward Reynolds, having reviewed all evidence and the recommendations of the special prosecutor, this court vacates all charges and convictions against the minor. The record shall be expunged completely." She looked, directly at Tommy. "Young man, you are free." Diana broke into tears, hugging her son tightly. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "this court acknowledges the egregious miscarriage of justice perpetrated against this child. The full extent of criminal wrongdoing by various parties will be addressed. Separate proceedings." What had seemed like a simple case of a child killing a valuable dog had revealed something far darker. The something, found in the Blackwells' basement, had been a hidden room containing evidence of Eleanor's methodical manipulation of her daughter's psychological issues, journals documenting how she had encouraged Jessica's harmful behaviors while simultaneously covering them up, not to help Jessica, but to maintain control over both her husband and daughter through a complex web of guilt, complicity, and mutual destruction. Most disturbing had been the recordings Eleanor had secretly made of her therapy sessions with Jessica, sessions where she subtly reinforced the girl's most troubling tendencies, while publicly presenting herself as the concerned mother seeking help for her troubled child. As the courtroom began to empty, Evelyn approached Tommy and Diana. "What happens now?" she asked gently. Diana smiled, the weight of fear finally lifted from her shoulders. "We start over, somewhere new." Tommy looked up at Evelyn with those solemn eyes that had seen too much. "I'm going to talk more now," he said simply. "Dr. Foster says it's good to tell the truth, even when it's scary." "He's right," Evelyn agreed, kneeling to his level. "Your truth saved you, Tommy." The boy considered this, then asked the question that had been haunting Evelyn since the beginning. "Why did they all believe I hurt Champion? I was too little." Sigh. Simplicity of his question revealed the absurdity of what had happened. An entire justice system had accepted the notion that this small, gentle child was capable of calculated violence, all because powerful people found it convenient to believe. "Sometimes," Evelyn said carefully, "adults convince themselves of things that aren't true because the real truth is too difficult to face." Tommy nodded with surprising understanding. "Like how Eleanor pretended to love Jessica but really just wanted to control her?" "Yes," Evelyn replied, startled by his insight. "Exactly like that." As they walked out of the courthouse into the bright sunlight, Tommy reached for both his mother's hand and Evelyn's, connecting them. In that moment, Evelyn understood the true injustice wasn't just what had been done to Tommy, but what had been done to Jessica, a child whose psychological issues had been nurtured, rather than treated, weaponized rather than healed, all in service to her mother's twisted definition of family. The real monster in this story had never been a 5-year-old boy, or even a troubled 12-year-old girl. It had been the adults who had failed them both, through ambition, deception, and the terrible power of a lie that everyone found easier to believe than the complex, uncomfortable truth.